worked a number of different jobs and tried them out in my time here. Everyone is probably aware that I delivered on and off for Domino's Pizza for a number of different times. That's actually one of the more easier jobs I ever had. To be perfectly honest, at least the task of driving wasn't a big problem with Domino's. I ultimately had to leave because I just couldn't deal with some of the co-workers I had to deal with. Managers were fine. It was the other drivers that kept bailing out and forcing me to have to work extra hours, and some customers and other thing, but that's not the worst job. I actually, first delivery job I ever worked was, believe it or not, with KFC. That they had delivery back in the late 90s, and I got my first real job actually delivering for them for about a year or so. Of course, like I said last time, I started working for DoorDash, and it's been about 3 or 4 weeks right now. I'm going to double check here, and I've been trying to get my stats up on this. I'm going to bring up the information right now. I should surpass 100 deliveries with DoorDash early next week, to be perfectly honest. And that's supposedly when they're going to start really judging me. I've gotten my average customer rating up to a 4.57. Now that's out of a maximum 5, but they're still marking that as being very low. So, I mean, I don't know, if I get it up to 4.6, will it finally change? My on-time or early percentage is at 86%. That's not bad according to them. But yeah, their standards are very high in getting things delivered on time and stuff with DoorDash, but I can handle that. I can try my best with trying to work the DoorDash gig as often as I can. If they let me go, I'll deal with it. I'll handle it. I'll try to look at something else. I just know that with the DoorDash, I'm trying my absolute best, and it's all I can really do. And other than the pressure to try to get my ratings up, it's actually probably the easiest job I've had outside of my video production in a long time. But that brings me, of course, to the most difficult and really just the absolute worst job I ever had to work in my life. And that was when I was a sales representative for AppStar Financial. I don't know if you've heard about these guys. And if you haven't, consider this a warning. If you ever think to try and work for some people like this. I've been wondering for the longest time, this was 6 years or 5, 6 years ago that I even tried working for these guys. And I don't know, for the longest time, I don't know why I insisted on hanging on to this type of stuff. All the stuff they gave me. Maybe it was fate that I had to be at this exact moment to finally have a medium to warn you people about this, guys. What you do here, this company specializes in selling credit card merchant accounts to vendors and stores and merchants and whatnot. Basically, if you purchase anything from a store or a business and pay with a credit card, they need a processing account that people like this will sell you to. Gonna look back over here, see if I remember any of these things. Yeah, this is just the application agreement that I'm supposed to send to these guys. Basically, my job was, my supervisors with AppStar would give me locations and businesses to go to talk with them. All they did was supposedly set up a supposed interview with a potential client, in which it was my task to convince them to buy into their credit card accounts. They would give me 2 people to talk with per day. keep in mind that's the thing. Basically I had two sales pitches I had to make per day, usually. I think I worked for these guys for 6 weeks. I sold a total of 2 merchant accounts. And I'm going to be the first thing to admit, I'm not a good salesman. If I was, I'd probably have a lot more subscribers to my videos and my YouTube channel and my Patreon than I already do. I'm not the nicest guy. I can't talk BS to salespeople. If there's nothing else, I think you guys know. I'm not a very tactful or nice person, but I am going to be an honest person. I'm going to tell you it like it is. So, yeah, maybe it's just I'm not the type of guy who's good for sales. But some of the things they told me to do in order to try to get a sale, I don't know how many TV shows and whatnot you've watched where you would see stories about marketing representatives or sales representatives and just all the BS they try to do to try to sell garbage to people. It's all true. And just the fact that I couldn't lie or spin anything to people is the biggest problem. Is that, there were 2 client interviews I remember more than anything else. I approached a lady at the, I guess it was at the secretary's counter. I told her I was here to talk to people about AppStar. She was very not pleased to see me, to put it nicely. She flat out told me, "We told you people not to send anybody. We have no interest in buying your stuff. We've dealt with people like you all the time. You're all the same. You sell us the top of the world to begin with, and then you screw us all over with higher fees and whatnot later on. You're all the same." And I couldn't really disagree with her on that. In fact, this is actually the second credit card merchant service that I had actually applied for and briefly started working for. I don't remember the name of the second one. I don't think I've got all of their stuff left over. I just hung on to this one because of just how much of an impact negatively it left on me. So there was that one client that did it. What really started to convince me that I was not meant for this job was the second one that I remember. Because I showed up to this one small business in, I think, Grand Prairie, where there's just one lady hanging around with her kid all around, and I come in, I say I'm here to talk with her, and she basically says, I'm trying to remember exactly, but the whole thing was that basically she said there was no one here to talk to, or she wasn't interested in seeing me. Basically, she was saying everything possible to try to get me to get out of there. I ended up calling my supervisor and telling him that, look, this lady doesn't want me to be here. She's not interested in my sales whatsoever. The response of my supervisor was, then befriend her. It was the most ridiculous thing you ever heard, where this woman has made it perfectly clear the only thing she wants me to do is leave. And now my supervisor's telling me, no, you stick around, you make small talk with her, you tell her how cute her baby is or whatnot, and eventually you're just going to win her over and she'll finally be convinced to buy into this stuff. I knew this was a crock. Pardon my language on there. But I knew that was just absolute garbage. And I just stuck around as long as I can before I was finally able to convince the supervisor that nothing I tried was going to work. Suffice to say, it wasn't much longer after that. It probably was less than a week later that I finally gave up and told him, look, I can't do this. I'm leaving this thing. I sent it to him via email. And he sent me this response email. I don't know if I still got it somewhere or if I deleted it anywhere. Basically tells me, when you smarten up and want to come back here, we'll still be here. It was just ridiculous. Like, if you've ever had to deal with a pushy salesman in your life, and you absolutely hate those type of people who try to hard sell you on anything, if anytime you've gone into a phone store or a car dealership or had to deal with anyone that works on commissions, if you cannot stand those type of salesmen, you do not want to work this job, because that is exactly the type of person you have to be to work at this job. In fact, the whole thing was the biggest thing that gets you, supposedly gets you the real money. It is first you sell them the account, but then you're supposed to try to sell them as much of this equipment as possible. Like, what was he? Yeah, terminal and peripherals. Yeah, you've got the main, I guess the main processor device there. So go back and look over all of this. No, this is just stuff about trying to, just a whole bunch of sales about how you can get debit and ATM cards, whatnot. Same time to the bank. Yeah, it's just, this is all that type of corporate marketing, sales, BS stuff that I think if you're a regular person, these guys are the devil, in your opinion. Like, any of you guys watch Nash's show on RDA, and he and Tara always talk about the horrors of working retail, and about how they have a whole lot of sympathy for anyone who's worked retail in their life, which I've done as well. I've always got like a caveat to that, where said, if you work a regular retail job where you're just paid a flat wage, and it's a minimum wage at that, and you got to deal with those type of customers all the time, yeah, you have my utmost sympathy, and you don't get paid enough to deal with the bull crap that customers give to you. If you work a commission sales job, you can go to hell, in my opinion. And unfortunately, that's what you would have to do to succeed with AppStar Financial. So I'm pitching this to you guys. If you are thinking about, if you ever look up a company like AppStar Financial and one of these merchant selling accounts, and you think about working for them, but you want to keep your dignity and your decency, don't bother with them. You're better off even dealing with those customers, because at least your pay isn't based on how much bull crap you can successfully shovel into a customer's throat when you know you hate that happening to you as well. I mean, at the very least, with DoorDash, all I do is they give me orders that have already been placed for food, and all I have to do is pick up the food from the restaurant and then deliver it to the customer. I'm just the mode of getting it to and from there. And honestly, the money isn't that bad with DoorDash, relatively speaking. There's not very many hours a day, maybe 5 or 6 hours a day where you can make you can get a good amount of orders. But if you're averaging at least 2 orders an hour, I'm probably making close to what I was making in wages and tips at Domino's for the most part there. But I'm actually wondering that I might try to do this, make this a regular segment, if at all possible. I'm trying to go back to, if there's any other jobs or hell jobs I could tell you guys about, and just describe all of the horrific details. Maybe I'll work some other jobs like that in the future, and after a couple of weeks of dealing with it, I'll come back and tell you. Maybe I'll be a consumer advocate. I'll become one of those for bad jobs and telling you what not to work and whatnot. Maybe that's the next evolution of Rowdy C Productions. When TV trash comes to an end, I'll become a consumer advocate for bad jobs. Who knows? Who knows where that goes?